Hi everyone! This week's video is my unofficial painting for the Animal Artist Collective theme Temperate Forests. I decided to paint a red deer for this theme, and after some research I made the first thumbnail sketches in my sketchbook to play around with the composition and the elements I wanted to include in the painting and to decide on the color scheme. I searched for free reference photos on Pixabay and Pexels for the deer, the bird, 4 leaves and landscapes, and cropped one deer photo to the same aspect ratio as the canvas I was going to paint on. I added a grid on the photo with GIMP and used the grid drawing method to draw a sketch for the painting in real size. Sometimes you're gonna prefer your initial rough sketch to the actual, bigger and more realistic sketch, and that happened to me with this painting. I think the difference was the face shape. In the thumbnail sketch I drew a wider muzzle for the deer, so it was basically a cow with antlers. And for some reason I liked that better, so I ended up refining my actual sketch by making the face and the muzzle a bit wider than they were in the deer photos. I transferred the sketch onto canvas with graphite transfer paper as usual. The graphite lines were quite dark and thick, and I was worried they would smudge my acrylic paints, so I sealed the sketch before painting. I first erased any mistakes with a kneaded eraser, which doesn't make any eraser dust. Then I painted a clear matte medium over the sketch, and once that was dry, the sketch was completely sealed off and would not interfere with the acrylic paints. All the supplies I used are listed below. I decided after the last theme that I would change my style a bit for the next Animal Artist Collective painting and do a colorful animal portrait in acrylics rather than a watercolor landscape with animals in it, which I've been doing so far for this collective. I wasn't sure whether to go for a graphic background with solid colors and shapes or a landscape background though. But I finally decided on a landscape with fall colored trees and a bit of sky on top. I wanted the color scheme to be yellow, orange, red and brown, but I made the trees light or muted colors and soft and abstract to make the foreground with the animals and leaves stand out better. I wasn't very happy with the painting after finishing the background, but I've learned to trust that it gets better when you keep going. I tried sponge painting for the trees at first, but then quickly changed that to dabbing with a brush to get the effect I wanted. One more thing I want to mention before we move on to the animals and seasonal forests. I painted this over multiple days, so in between sittings I put the paint palette into a plastic bag and into the fridge to keep the paint fresh. I do sometimes mix the paint into small containers to keep it wet for longer, but I also wanted to let the paint dry on the palette after this painting was finished, so I could make another ASMR paint peeling video. Okay, I researched this theme online and watched another Planet Earth episode to get ideas. I had actually listed some animals I'd like to paint, and I just had to check which ones would fit this theme, and the deer was my clear choice. The Facebook poll said that this theme was deciduous temperate forests that changed with seasons. That was so hard to pronounce, but it means forests with trees that drop their leaves, which you can find in Central and West Europe, for example. I thought, why not include a bird or some other small animal with the red deer? And one bird that was mentioned to live in this habitat was Cardinal, which also fit the fall color scheme nicely. It turned out that this wasn't a very original idea, because you can find a bunch of paintings with a cardinal sitting on the antlers of a deer online. Many of them seem to be Christmas cards though, so at least my painting is about a different season. Red deers used to be rare in Europe, but they've become quite common through efforts in conservation. The deer I painted is male, since only the stags have antlers and they shed them every year. They grow new antlers in the spring, and they have a soft velvet covering which peels off at the end of the summer, and the antlers themselves fall off during the winter. The antler velvet is actually used for medicine in some parts of Asia. One interesting thing that stuck out to me while watching the Planet Earth documentary about seasonal forests in general was that there's a mandarin duck in Asian forests that makes its nest in a tree, which I don't think is that common for ducks. And a day after the ducklings have hatched, they have to follow the mother down from the nest to the ground and to water. So since the nest is in a tree and the ducklings can't fly yet, they have to jump down from the tree. It looked kind of funny and scary when they were falling down and then bouncing on the leaves when they hit the ground, but they were all fine. As I said, this painting is for the Animal Artist Collective, and I'll link to a blog post where you can find more information about it and watch the playlists of all the previous themes. But shortly, the official members of the group make paintings based on a chosen theme every 2 months and sell the original artworks and give at least half of the proceeds to animal conservation. If you're inspired to make your own animal art based on their themes, you can do that unofficially, as I'm doing now, and post your work on social media or YouTube. I link a playlist below with all the Animal Artist Collective videos I can find of this theme, including both official and unofficial ones, so you can easily watch them. You can also vote for the next theme on their Facebook page, so I'll link that below as well. If you're new to my channel, I post a new video every week and sometimes twice a week. My videos include tips and tutorials for artists, as well as relaxing real-time ASMR art videos. Thank you so much for watching and see you next week. Bye!